And now, leader of Yemen's Ansarullah movement that has accused the UN and the West of having a hypocritical approach toward the country. Abdul Malik al-Houthi said that Washington and its allies are always quiet when the people of Yemen are killed with the weapons they supply to some Arab regimes. He said, however, that those very countries express concern when the Yemeni army is close to liberating Ma'arib from Saudi-backed mercenaries. Houthi said the offensive on Ma'arib is aimed at deterring the enemies which have been wreaking havoc and spilling the blood of innocent civilians there for years. Ansarullah leader also accused the U.S. of hatching plots to target the country, just like it did with Iraq and Afghanistan. He slammed Israel and the West for propagating takfiri terrorism with the aim of gaining control of the region. Joining us out of Ontario, Canada is Jason Unruhe, political commentator. Hello, Jason. Hope you're safe and doing well. Thanks for joining us here on PressTV again. Your thoughts on the story?
Well, frankly, that is the situation that we're looking at right now internationally. That is the way that the imperialist powers in the world, often referred to as the opinion of the world, are carrying out this situation. But frankly, an unlimited amount of pain and suffering can be cast upon the Yemeni people without even cursory mentions of it in many mainstream media outlets. They will give it a 5 or 10 second soundbite, but essentially the entire issue goes missing from any real mainstream media coverage. However, as soon as the tables have turned and perhaps the Yemenis take some step towards liberating themselves, then suddenly there's a major 24-hour news announcement that still gains a significant amount of coverage, talking about how allegedly Iran is involved in the conflict and has soldiers there, and then they managed to bring Syria into it, and then they tend to link things to Hezbollah, and then make all kinds of accusations of other countries who are simply not under U.S. imperialist thumb of being involved in this situation. What we see here is a very blatant and a very obvious double standard. The suffering of the Yemeni people means absolutely nothing to those who claim to be the champions of freedom and human rights and democracy around the world, yet they are the very first ones to condemn when anyone tries to resist their imposition of imperialism on their countries. And I think that is very much blatant to anyone who really pays attention to the situation.
And to your point, it's funny, you bomb women and children, Jason, killing and maiming them. A lot of silence out of the West. You set up a blockade to deprive women and children, once again, and other innocent civilians from getting food, medicine, and fuel to the country, leaving them basically sickened and on the brink of starvation. More silence from the West. And then when the Yemenis, when they retaliate, and they're not killing women and children, what are they doing? They're hitting, either basically, you very well know, like military targets, installations that are used to carry out attacks on them, retaliatory strikes, or they're hitting, your Aramco oil facilities, leaving no casualties. You get a lot of condemnation, you get sanctions, you get blacklisting, and you get, the whole slew of repercussions as a result. Tell us how that kind of policy even makes sense.
Well, it makes sense from the viewpoint of imperialism that perhaps what they're saying is not what they really mean. The whole goal here is to destabilize and destroy Yemen and create a puppet government that would exist under the control of the U.S., Saudi Arabia, and Israel in order to forward their interests in the region. So from the logic of being an imperialist warmonger, it makes perfect sense. But it does not make sense from the public face that they put on, trying to tell everybody that this is about freedom and democracy and about people having the right to choose and about supposedly trying to promote peace in the Middle East. So while it is wholly inhuman, yes, the words do contradict the actions, but they do not betray the actual intentions of the imperialists.
And before you let you go, Jay, I'm glad you mentioned freedom and democracy. When is the last country, or where is the last country, or when was the last incursion or invasion that resulted in a nation getting freedom and democracy as a result? Was it achieved in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Libya, in Syria? Tell us where it happened and when.
Well, certainly not under the United States in anywhere, shape, or form. I think that the last time there was a real case of humanitarian intervention, I believe it was the invasion of Vietnam into Cambodia to put an end to the Pol Pot regime inside the country. That was the last real case of humanitarian intervention that we've seen in the world, probably in a very long time. But at no point can we claim the United States has ever had this as one of their true goals.
All right, bud. Stay safe. It's always a pleasure to have you on and get your perspective on things out of Ontario, Canada. Mr. Jason Unruhe, their political commentator. You bet.